Chipped ham and football. That's what Pittsburgh does. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the show. Brian Batko here with you, as always, from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, one of our Steelers beat writers. We had some technical glitch with last week's show. That's what happened with that. So we didn't get a chance to preview Steelers Eagles on here, but we are today going to talk Steelers Ravens with Giana Han of the Baltimore Banner, Ravens beat writer for them. It's going to be great to get some insight from her on what's going on in Baltimore ahead of this matchup before the Steelers head there with the AFC North Division title in their sights. If they win it, they clinch it. If not, be sweating it out, needing a win or two likely down the stretch of the season against the Chiefs and the Bengals. So we'll talk to Gianna about the vibes around the Ravens, how things are going down there, and sort of the outlook for this game at 4:30. Yeah, 4:30 on Saturday, not Sunday. But as always, we start with a message from Pella. No better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than from Pella. They can help you save on your energy costs year-round. Schedule a free and-home consultation with your local Pella Windows and Doors to find the right product for your home in your budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss your project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning on your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. Right back on the other side with Giana Han to talk Steelers Ravens Week 16. Should be a fun chat. Oh, wait, I don't have my interlude clip. Okay, here we go. Should be a fun chat with her. All right, and there's our guest for this week, Giana Han, Ravens reporter for the Baltimore Banner. And I appreciate you taking some time out of your day here on a short week for both of us. And really, everybody's talking about the players, Gianna, but us beat writers also have the 3 games in 11 days set up for the Steelers and the Ravens because they're part of the Christmas Day game. So how's it going? How are you holding up in the eye of the storm here?
I'm doing okay. I think the back end will be a little worse, but my brain is tired from just being like, wait, so we have practice which days if we have a Saturday game and a Wednesday game? So just like trying to plan and everything has been crazy in terms of both stories and just like life. So
yeah. I mean, it's like a Wednesday on a Tuesday right now. Mike Tomlin had his weekly Tuesday presser on Monday. So yeah, everything's a little bit discombobulated. Are you finishing every leg of this trip? Are you going to be going down to Houston too on Christmas?
Yeah, so good for me. My sister works in healthcare, so she also works on Christmas. So it's not me ruining family Christmas. And we actually already did ours right before the Giants game. So I will be heading down there since my family won't be doing anything anyway. And watching Beyonce potentially, however, not exactly equal to getting Christmas back, but I guess a small little prize to make up for it.
Yeah, it's a small perk of doing the job, I guess, on Christmas Day. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do Christmas with my wife's side of the family a few days later and see my family Christmas Eve or something, but we'll figure it out. We'll work around that 1:00 kickoff. At least for us in Pittsburgh, it's a home game against the Chiefs. But first, we've got Steelers Ravens coming up on Saturday, 4:30. What's the mood around this team like right now, Gianna? I mean, is it going to be a pretty dour way to go into the home stretch here if they get swept by the Steelers and kind of lose this shot at winning the AFC North when it looked like they were on a roll earlier this season?
It will definitely make everything harder. And even if they pretend not to care, I think it probably bothers them, especially Lamar, that he just can't get those wins against them. Especially when I think I'm about to have a guest. Hey, bud, my cat is up here. But I mean, the Steelers are a good team and they've earned their wins the hard way. However, I think it's extremely frustrating when you don't give up a single touchdown to a team and you still lose. And I think another interesting aspect of that is obviously in that game and a few others, Justin Tucker missing field goals has lost them the game. And coming out of the bye, we don't know if that's been fixed because they didn't kick a single field goal against the
Giants. Yeah, that
the little tail in the corner. Sorry, but
kids have interrupted my podcast many of times.
Yes,
in a much worse way than that. So
poor kid. But yeah, they didn't kick a field goal against the Giants because they got in the red zone and they converted every single time. So we don't know that if Justin Tucker has fixed what he needs to fix and if it's going to be another similar game. Don't know that the Ravens will necessarily come out on top there. I did come into the season feeling like they might split this. I feel like it would be, I guess I can't say it's rare for them to be swept since they were swept last year with Lamar not, Lamar.
Yeah, it's kind of it's weird that because they have missed Lamar so many times, but yeah, I mean the Steelers have owned this series despite how good the Ravens have been, and yeah, this is going to be a real chance for them to bounce back. Were they smarting after that first loss in Pittsburgh? Was everybody kind of like just continued to be bewildered how the Steelers have their number, and that was with Lamar playing?
Yes, there's just a lot of banging going on right now in my flat. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, walking into that locker room, I believe that was my first loss I covered last year as well when I first joined, and it actually wasn't quite as somber as last year. Maybe because last year's team should have been a Super Bowl team, and so maybe they had higher expectations, but they do have high expectations of themselves this year. They're just not living up to them as well as they did last year.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, just guys just sitting facing their lockers. Normally you see them facing the other way, not really talking to each other. There were a few guys that were kind of joking around, which surprised me a bit, but for the most part, just like silent room, just staring at their lockers. And it is weird because, we among the Ravens reporters like to say that Lamar at this point is just so good, but he seems to just have this glitch, right? Like every now and then he'll just do something that you're like, wait, what? And it's just so out of character. The Steelers are one big glitch for him. Like everything he does versus the Steelers, you're like, I've watched this guy so many times in practice and games, and I just don't know who this is. So I think that they would like to change that narrative. They're very sick of being asked about it. And they always just revert to being like the Steelers are a good team, which they are, and they have a good defense, which they do. But there's also got to be something Ravens end that they're just not performing when they come up against their main rivals.
Yeah, I mean you're right about that. It's like Lamar just short circuits, throws a pick to Joey Porter Jr. in the end zone, and can't get there on the 2-point conversion. And that's the reason why I usually tamp down some of that we own Lamar stuff from Steelers fans, is because I do feel like a lot of these games have been coin flip type of games going into it and not that different on the back end, because if one play here or there goes the other way, we're singing a much different tune. Or as you mentioned, Gianna, this first matchup this year, if Justin Tucker is his usual self, that game might be very different at Acrisure Stadium a few weeks ago. So I guess you haven't had any high leverage kicks for him since the bye, and that's going to be the case Saturday in Baltimore. Who else is up right now on this roster? Who's down for the Ravens? Obviously, Lamar is up. Didn't he have more touchdown passes than incompletions Sunday against the Giants?
Yeah, he needed like 1 or 2 more passes to have another perfect passer rating, which it's been a little bit, so I might be off on this, but I think at one point he was tied with Big Ben as having the most perfect passer ratings. And, he has a lot more years left in him. So I was a little, uncertain about Lamar when I first saw him, because he just, like way years ago, he just looks so different, right? The way he plays the game. And you're kind of, I will say I was among the people that are kind of like, wait, what? But now that I see him, I'm just used to him pulling out magic. And so the last few weeks, he hasn't been bad. He just hasn't been like magic, which is what I expect. So we kind of saw that again. I mean, he can just made a bunch of guys look stupid while pulling his pants up. I don't know if you saw that clip.
I missed that, but that doesn't surprise me given that the Giants, I guess, was kind of like a second consecutive bye week for the Ravens at this point with what's going on with them.
He had a funny quote that he thought he felt like some cold air and thought his pants were falling down. And so he was like holding his pants as he's running, like juking out defenders and still like stiff arming people. So he's just like, he's a cheat code. So he's definitely up. I will say that again, not a great test of the Giants. It's really hard to determine versus
Sure.
them, but the secondary seems to be kind of finding some way. They're still not what they should be, considering how many Pro Bowlers and like fantastic players they have on the roster, but they switched from, they were Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson back there, and then they were Eddie Jackson and Ardarius, and now they've moved Kyle Hamilton back there, and it's Kyle and Ardarius, and they seem to have clicked a bit, so that's really good.
Ardarius Washington, yeah, Mike Tomlin mentioned him yesterday, and he also thought the Ravens defense looks like it's really settling down and a lot different since Dean Pease has been more involved with that defense after coming on mid-season.
Yeah,
I don't know what you make of that, but
because I think it's like an unfair assessment overall to look at Dean Pease and not being there, because no matter what, they were going to get better because Zach Orr is a brand new coordinator.
yeah,
not
first year on the job, young guy. Yeah.
Any coordinator. I think that's like I try to emphasize all the time is that Mike McDonald came a few years ago and he had a learning curve, but he was coming from being a college coordinator. He had experience. Zach Orr does not have any experience. He needed a learning curve. So no matter what, that was going to happen. I don't know how much better he would have gotten without Dean Pease versus with Dean Pease, but they were going to get better at some point. And I know another big thing that they've mentioned is they've started to simplify some things. So the Ravens have notoriously had a complex defense. Some of the older reporters who've been around said every time they bring in new guys in the secondary, they always take a little bit. And so last year, the reason they didn't have that is guys said Denard was one of their secondary coaches was just such a good teacher that they didn't have that learning curve for each individual guy. However, they don't have him anymore. And so they're still trying to run as if things were the same. And now they're realizing, even though it's a lot of the same pieces, it's not exactly the same. So they simplified that. I've heard that Roquan Smith is not having to yell nearly as many words as he used to. He's the one who wears a green dot. So even just in terms of communication, their verbiage, they've shortened it. It's just easier, more efficient. So that's been part of it. They've talked about having kind of a come to Jesus moment a few weeks ago after Cincinnati, I believe, torched them, as in Jamar Chase torched them.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, things are turning. They were always going to turn at some point. This team is just, they have too much talent to not turn. I will always stand by PQ. Patrick Queen was a big loss. Javion Clowney, still a loss, but for the most part, they have the same guys. Geno Stone, another Pittsburgher.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent. He might not be doing as well in Cincinnati, but this is a defense that runs on intelligence. And so when you lose some of those guys like Patrick and Clowney and Geno, it makes a difference. But they still have Marlon Humphrey, Nnamdi Madubuike, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon, Roquan Smith. Like, they should be better. So it was going to turn at some point. However, I know we miss Patrick Queen a lot, and I think the defense misses Patrick Queen a lot.
Yeah, he's been great in the Steelers locker room for sure. That reminds me that, I guess a lot of the revenge game narrative stuff kind of got taken care of in the first meeting in Pittsburgh, but, it's going to be a whole other kind of dynamic for him now going back to Baltimore. So I guess we'll see what he has to say about that. I want to ask you about another player who has changed sides in this rivalry, which the good storyline, I guess, as John Harbaugh was putting it yesterday. First, a quick word from Goldberg, Persky, and White. If you were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky, and White. For more than 40 years, their firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. Call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for your free consultation. Diontae Johnson, the saga continues in Baltimore. I guess the latest is they've kind of, I imagine the conversation went kind of like this. John Harbaugh called him up like, hey, Diontae, do you want to come back? No. Okay, well, we don't really want you here anyway, so just stay away, but we're also not releasing you, so have fun, buddy. Merry Christmas. Is that what you imagine things went down like?
Y'all know him better than I do. I've never talked to him because I don't really go to like big scrums. I kind of wander elsewhere.
Or as Mike Tomlin said too, he's an insignificant piece of the offense right now.
Which at the time I was like, he hadn't done anything, and he still hadn't done anything. Yeah. So there wasn't super a reason for me to go up to him. And as the situation got worse, I was like, I think what's interesting is obviously you see the Devondre stuff in San Francisco.
Yeah, Devondre Campbell,
Yeah, you have all those players. I know George Kittle being one of the ones that went viral for it, saying, I never want to play with someone who does that again. And I mean, maybe this is a testament to how well coached the Ravens are, but they're like, we'd welcome him back if he wanted back. Like, would you really? This isn't a distraction. This guy in game they say, hey, Diontae, you're up. And he's like, yeah, nah, I'm not going out there. And what was just so weird to me, because, it took a while for us to find out what had happened.
Yeah, I think that was the big difference between his situation and the Niners was I guess the Niners dude like literally just left the stadium and was like, peace, I'm out of here. Whereas it seems like it was more kept under wraps with what happened with Diontae.
And the thing was, so again, I don't do like the press conferences per se. Like I usually just go straight to locker room.
Sure.
And so I was in there before everyone, and he was in there, and he was just like chatting with Lamar. And I was kind of, looking to see if it was angry or not. It wasn't. It was emphatic, but it definitely wasn't angry. It was just kind of two guys like talking. Derrick Henry went over there. They're all just talking. And if a guy literally in the middle of the game is like, yeah, nah. Like, I don't know how you are just chill with it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe his beef was more with the coaching staff then than his teammates. But yeah, strange situation all around there. And I can't imagine he's going to suit up for the Ravens again. It seems like that relationship is completely broken beyond repair, and they just don't want to let him force his way out and go to a fourth team in the last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the fact that Harbaugh is like, you guys are just looking for a story is interesting because we're not looking for it. It is a story. It's there. You just haven't told us what it is. So all we can do is speculate because they won't tell us what actually happened, which is an interesting choice from them because, speculation can go wild. The initial speculation when they said something was wrong, but didn't say what, was people went and looked at, like police reports, see if you've done something criminal. Like that's where brains can jump if you don't explain what's going on. But yeah, I mean, guys in this locker room are just going to keep saying like, oh, he comes back, but I can't imagine it's not a distraction. And then there's no proof of this, but a lot of people's first thought when the rookie made his first catch and scored a touchdown was a big FU to sorry, excuse the language, but
oh, it's all good. Yeah, no, Devontae Walker scoring a touchdown Sunday against the Giants on his first catch, first target?
First catch, first target, only play drawn up for him, according to him. So yeah, it's like, okay, Diontae, they forced the ball to him against the Steelers and a few other times, and he made one catch out of all the times that they've forced it to him. And he also tripped and fell twice in 2 different games. So he just straight up didn't perform. And then they were like, hey, we've got this rookie. We throw him one ball. Look, he scores, and it's a highlight reel. Like, we don't need you is essentially the vibe that a lot of people got.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And I know when we were texting to coordinate the show, you were saying you wish you would have seen it on Hard Knocks. I think people in Pittsburgh also wish it would have been covered by Hard Knocks. And I don't know like necessarily where all the cameras are and aren't, but I'll just finish by asking you that would have been your impressions of AFC North Hard Knocks. And I guess our Ravens fans kind of mad because they haven't really been featured much, albeit they had a bye week. And then the week before they were playing the Eagles out in, an NFC matchup. So I think they're going to be on more, maybe as soon as 9:00 tonight when that show airs.
Yeah. And I think obviously this upcoming week, it's a divisional game. So they've been showing the Steelers a lot. So by, association of playing them, they should be shown. And of course they had their holiday helper event last night. So that gives, I don't know, some fun stuff for people to see.
Were the cameras around for that? Like trying to get some inside stuff?
The cameras are around everywhere. However, I believe the coaches have say in what gets shared. And I'm getting the feeling that Mike Tomlin is a lot more willing to share things than John Harbaugh.
Yeah, the flip side of that, though, John, would be we haven't really seen any of the George Pickens drama that has percolated within the Steelers, and now he's injured, so that's kind of like a moot point. But yeah, I mean, I think both teams' respective wide receiver dramas, the coaches would rather not have the all-access curtain pulled back on everything being said there.
But even like Mike Tomlin on the sidelines, he's like talking to his players, he's talking to the refs, he's just being him, and then they have John Harbaugh on the sidelines for it was like one play. Lamar throws a touchdown, and he sounds like he's talking to a press conference. Like, it's not natural. It's not something he'd be saying on the sidelines. He's like, that was a good throw. He showed good vision. Like, that's not what he's telling his coaches. He's just talking to the mic. But yeah, my beat partner, Jonas Schaefer, made a great point that you can't call it all access if you're not putting out the biggest stories that are happening behind the scenes. Like, that's not all access. That's semi-access or something, but it's not all access. So, and I understand from the coaching perspective why they wouldn't want to show it, but I mean, the cameras are there. Someone has that, and I would love to just get a little peek at that film, or all that stuff that they haven't actually put out there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been very Steelers heavy. I think people understand why. And I do think I've heard, interestingly, from people on Ravens side that one of the most like interesting facets of Hard Knocks has been them seeing that Tomlin is as cool as he seems, quoting them. And so it is funny to think that the Ravens fans are kind of enjoying some of the Tomlin content, despite him being, you know, the enemy. But I mean, yeah, it was bye week. They had, I think, 74 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, it was like basically Harbaugh addressing the team, right? And
yeah,
like, we'll see afterward.
And then like zooming in on Justin Tucker when they talk about like the difficulties, and I guess
maybe that was a tease. Maybe we're gonna see more of him.
Yeah. He made a little comment because he went viral for like looking haggard. A bunch of fans are getting on him, and I didn't know that, and so I was a little confused when he walked by one day at practice and was just like, I'm not sick, guys. And I was like, yeah, like, you're practicing. Clearly you're not sick. And then someone explained to me, and I was like, oh, that's weird. He just said this. And I did overhear him from a scrum because he has a booming voice, him telling people that the bye week was excruciating for me. So clearly he put some work in during the bye week. So that's some stuff. But I mean, there are a lot of storylines. We're just not necessarily seeing them in Hard Knocks. And given they have 4 teams to cover, so you can't fit everything in. However, it would be nice to hear the Diontae Pickens drama.
I have a feeling that they're probably going to pull back a little on Browns Bengals with the way their seasons are going, and maybe distill it a little bit more to Steelers and Ravens stuff. And there's even some Steelers going to be like, all right, it's obvious now. This was actually all just, this whole divisional thing was a vessel to just basically feature the Steelers without saying they were featuring the Steelers, since they've never been on it. But all right, well, Gianna, it was great to have you on. Really appreciate you doing that. And we will see you, I keep wanting to say Saturday in the press box in Baltimore. Anything else you want to add before I get you out of here?
Sorry.
Anything else you wanted to add before I let you go here?
I think that's all. You covered it. It's going to be interesting because I don't know. That last game was, you can't write that script. So I'm excited to see what it is. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy the brand new press box with all their coffee options.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things about the coffee, not so good things about the sight lines, because the old one was awesome right there, like right above the first level, probably the best view in the NFL, but now I guess it's no longer.
Yeah, and if you guys bring a large contingent, we're going to be shoulder to shoulder. So
we always do. The Post-Gazette always brings a large contingent, and so does the Pittsburgh Steelers media beat force in general. So looking forward to the close quarters, I guess. So for Giana Han from the Baltimore Banner, I'm Brian Batko. Thanks as always for finding us here on the Chipped Ham and Football Show. We will talk to you guys the rest of the week, and we will have plenty more Steelers Ravens coverage for you.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.